So obviously I'm not the only one who's noticed, but over the past couple of years, there have been a few football programs so bad that they've actually risen to fame within the college football world. Just off the top of my head, teams like Kansas, Akron, Bowling Green, UMass, UConn, Arizona, and FCS East all have historic traditions of sucking. But there's still one team that I haven't mentioned. A team that probably inspired the word mediocre to come into existence. That team being UNLV. The Running Rebels haven't won a single game since November 30th of 2019. Well, fortunately for UNLV, they just beat New Mexico this weekend. Unfortunately for me, this segment isn't relevant anymore, which ended like this.
Snake, are you okay? Snake?
Maybe it was a little bit of foreshadowing, but anyways. And like the title suggests, I hear almost no one talk about this team. It's like their 13-game losing streak is some kind of big secret. Well, unfortunately for them, I'm about to bust this whole thing wide open. So, things seem to be moving in the right direction with the completion of the poorly placed nightmare dome known as Allegiant Stadium. But unfortunately, the only thing the Death Star has destroyed in the last 2 years have been the retinas and wallets of local taxpayers.
But go Vegas, big Rebel fan right here.
2020 was set to be a rebrand year for the Rebels, so they swapped out the field, swapped out the unis, got rid of the mascot, got a new QB transfer, and brought in a new head coach. This little special so-and-so is Marcus Arroyo, who just came off of a Rose Bowl win with Justin Herbert and the Ducks. Supposedly a QB genius and an offensive guru, it was hoped that Arroyo would transform the whole program into a Herbert factory. Not really, they just wanted a coach that could win more than 4 games a year. Funnily enough though, once Herbert did leave Oregon's offensive system, many of his glaring flaws were suddenly fixed in one offseason. Prior to the season opener, we were led to believe that there was some kind of intense 3-way competition for the starting quarterback job. But in reality, the only 3-way was in Marcus Arroyo's dreams, and when he woke up, it was already the season opener. So he started Max Gilliam, then benched him for the backup, then benched the backup for the other backup, and then lost 34-6. I'm going to spare your ears the pain of listening to a game-by-game recap, so in summary, the 2020 UNLV defense gave up an average of 38 points and ended the season 0-6. The highlights of the season were Max Gilliam apologizing for eating sushi off of a nude model on a television show. I don't even know what to say about that. And then, of course, running back Charles Williams, as usual. The lowest of lights was Carson Strong bending over the UNLV secondary and making the 2,000 capacity crowd watch in horror. If you had high expectations for your team, just like the last several decades, 2020 was the perfect excuse for all of their shortcomings. Were there glaring issues with the offense and tackling? No, the only glaring issue was with the lack of practices that the boys had before the season. Did your team have a terrible overall record? No. If we didn't have a COVID outbreak, we would have won more for sure. Was your secondary softer than UTSA's strength of schedule? No, because 2020. So, Marcus, are we going to make sure that we don't repeat last year's mistake and name a starter before the season opener? Ah, damn it. The opener would start eerily similar to the one in 2020, but this time UNLV would find their guy. His name is Doug Brumfield. But alas, UNLV could not stop the white-hot Eastern Washington offense in overtime? I mean, alright, losing to an FCS team is a little embarrassing, but things are looking up. Who do they play next? Why? Why would you do this? Just when UNLV thinks they're in the clear, they get knocked down again. Remember how I just said, but this time UNLV would find their guy. Yeah, well, he got injured in the second game of the season and is still out. And yet this team has been competitive in almost every single game this season. UNLV is the book that Marcus Arroyo picked up at Barnes & Noble 3 years ago, and he just can't finish it. But looking past just their record, this team has a lot of bad coaching, like the San Jose State game where they start with 7 minutes in the fourth quarter, and then they run out the entire clock without scoring. And then some good play, but a lot of bad play, and overall just terrible luck, especially with injuries to the quarterback room. In conclusion, the most sinful thing in Las Vegas isn't what you think it is.
I got Reese's Puffs in my bowl. Nowadays on cruise control. control.